Let's talk about the difference between public IP addresses and private IP addresses. Up until now, we've been talking private IP addresses. And an example I've been using a lot is 192.168.1.1. This is a private IP address. It means it's supposed to be used internally within your local area network. It also means that it does not face the internet directly. That's why it's called private. Public addresses, however, they do face the internet directly. An example would be 65.43.18.1. And this IP address is known as internet facing or public facing. And that means that anybody around the world can see that IP address. Anybody around the world will not be able to see this because it's behind usually a firewall and behind some type of network address translation device. When it comes to public addresses, you have to be very careful with security. You want to secure any servers that are on public addresses to a certain extent. You're going to want to leave them open somewhat so that people can gain access to services, but everything else you're going to want to firewall and close down that server, make sure it's secure. And we're going to show examples of public IP addresses, private IP addresses in Windows now, or just in a second. What I want to show real quick, though, are the private IP ranges that you should know. Besides 192.168, there's also the 10 network. And the 10 network could be anything. It could be 10.254.254.0. It could be anything after it, but it's going to be something on 10. And then the other one, which I had mentioned before, is 172.16.x.x. That's going to be the network number. Also 172.17 all the way through to 172.31. Those are the main private IP numbers that you're going to need to know. We're going to go over those again when we look on the computer. So let's get into Windows now and show some examples of public and private IP addresses. Okay, so we talked about, in theory, public IP addresses versus private IP addresses and the differences between those. Now let's show it a little bit in the command line. First of all, let's show a private IP address. If we do a simple ipconfig, we'll see, once again, our Ethernet adapter and the address 10.254.254.204. That address is a private address. Anything on the 10 network is going to be private. That's internal. And the only computers that are going to be able to connect to this are local systems, systems on the local area network. But you don't have to worry about computers on the internet connecting to you. If you want to have a system that anyone can connect to, then you want to have some type of server on the internet, and then you would want a public IP address. So let's give an example of that now. I'm going to connect to the example.com domain with the ping command, which will then show its public IP address. So we'll do a ping and example.com. And you can see the replies come up now. I'm pinging this from my computer, but example.com is in a completely different area on the internet. And you can see the address here, 93.184.216.34. 93 is a public IP address. Anything that starts with the class A 93 network is going to be public. So you got a little example there with example.com of a public address. Remember, the public addresses are used by servers or any computers that need to be internet facing so that anyone around the world can connect to it. But the private address is something that you use usually for all your local computers, all your clients on your LAN. And an example of that is our laptop that we have right here that's using the IP version 4 address 10.254.254.204. So know your differences between private and public, and take a look on your own system now and take a look at your own address and maybe try pinging some websites and domains out there to see their public addresses. And that wraps it up for this sub-lesson.